put a video up here. It's my show on TV about this TV show in the past, about how the schools is changing the way your kids think. They change their whole mentality. They switch over to someone else. They programming them. I'm gonna let you listen to this lady talk. I'm not gonna put the whole video up there because it's long, but listen to her talk. This stuff is for real, man. They are changing the way you think. Your kids. It is not in a good way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of COVID and the Classroom, a podcast dedicated to getting kids back to school, putting parents in positions of power, and navigating the new world of education in the time of coronavirus. I'm your host, Mary Claire Amslow. I need to take a deep breath before even diving into today's episode. I'm drinking my third cup of coffee of the day currently because this topic is a little more difficult than some of the stuff I've talked about before. It's pretty simple for me to come on here and say that I think that parents should be able to choose what school their kids go to. People might violently disagree with that, but no one necessarily calls you a horrible person for thinking that. But today I want to get into something that we touched on in the last episode, but it's worth digging into more, and we got some good feedback on that discussion that I had with Jonathan Butcher last episode. So today we're going to talk about woke culture and identity politics in our schools. 2020 is completely exhausting. We're all just so tired by turning on the news every single day. Conservatives seem like they're getting ready for another big purge like we saw a few years ago in 2016, where people are purging conservatives from their life. We saw all the think pieces about ladies, you need to divorce your conservative husbands, about how to bridge your Republican friends from your social circles. And almost every conservative I know has stories like this, where people have completely nixed friends from their life who don't think the same way as them. And that's a symptom of identity politics and woke culture. If you are a member of a certain group, you have to think a certain way, or else you are deeply problematic. I, for example, am deeply problematic. I am a woman. I wholeheartedly reject modern feminism. I'm pro-life. I'm conservative. I'm Catholic. I'm a really big problem. When they start the truth and reconciliation commissions like Robert Reich wants to, they're going to come knock down my door and kidnap me and put me in a camp and re-educate me. I'm a big problem. And I'm getting so many texts from friends nowadays because I'm an outspoken conservative. I always have been. I have been my entire life. That's just sort of the way I am. People who aren't, so outspoken, but sort of lean this way, I'm getting so many people texting me and be like, how do you deal with all of the name calling and the people calling you a horrible person that didn't exist a few years ago, but it does now? And I was actually talking to a colleague of mine earlier today, and I hope he's okay with me talking about this. I obviously won't say his name, but he asked me, he said, we're all used to losing friends because of politics, which is just such a horrible premise to even start with. But he asked me if I had ever lost a friend over my religion. And it sort of took me back because I thought, I don't know, actually. My political views are obviously informed by my faith, but no one's ever told me that they couldn't be friends with me anymore because I'm a Catholic. But he was saying that he was having problems with that, where he's having people kind of turn on him because he's very staunch in his religious faith. And it just made me so sad. And this was earlier this morning, and it's been sticking with me all day because he was so obviously disturbed by it. And it just goes to show that we're going through this cycle again, and I guess it's been building up the last few years, where there are people and there are organizations and there are institutions that are trying to tear us apart by race, by religion, by skin color, by creed, and we can't let them do it. We just have to say, no, we can't let them tear us apart like this. We have a lot more in common. I firmly believe this. I have pessimistic days, but today I guess I'm not as pessimistic. We have a lot more in common than we have not in common. And so we need to fight back against this division that's going on. And this division is starting and is deeply rooted in our schools. So today I'm going to be joined by two policy experts, Max Eden at the Manhattan Institute and Mike Gonzalez, who's my colleague at the Heritage Foundation, who both look at what has been happening to our society, not just over the past 4 years, but over the past, few decades, that has brought us to this point where we are deeply, deeply divided, and we are graduating students from our public school system who are not simply educated in reading, writing, and arithmetic, but have been trained to be activists, and they leave angry, and they leave school determined to become agents of social change. And I personally think that that's why we've seen a lot of disruption in our city this past summer. So we'll be talking about that with our guests later in the show. But first, let's get into today's headlines.
Now, if you can, go back there and watch that again. What I put up there, what I showed on TV about them kids in the classroom in their uniforms, being trained to think a certain way. I said put more there too, because they took their parents in, like they took their parents in. So this been going on for a minute. This is real, people.